Okay, now let's bring in Natalia Polis, who is a lawyer at Lash Condo Law. Hi, Natalia.
Hi, Libby. How are you?
Fine. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
So, the city has been saying they're going to enforce these bylaws. Do they actually have the power to enforce anything at a condo building?
So, in our experience, we haven't had that many bylaw officers actually attend our client's property. So, we haven't seen that many 311 calls actually yield any positive results, to be honest. However, on that end, the corporations themselves have the power to enforce this outside of calling 311 and contacting the city. So that's really important for residents who are concerned about individuals not wearing masks to understand.
So when you say they have the power to enforce it, what can they do?
So at this point, every condo in Toronto should have adopted a mask policy within the corporations themselves and distributed to the residents. So if an individual is not wearing a mask, there's certain enforcement steps, starting with, for instance, verbal warnings to residents who are not wearing masks, which then could end up going to the management, sending an enforcement letter. And then if this resident continues to not comply, it'll eventually go to legal. And we have the capacity of sending an enforcement letter and possibly charging back the costs of that letter to the residents who aren't complying and who aren't wearing their masks.
But can you stop them from using the common areas?
You can't stop them from using the common areas. You can try to get them to wear a mask. Oftentimes we see individuals claiming that they're somehow exempt from wearing a mask on the common areas and continue not doing so. Unfortunately, the way that the bylaw is read at this point, the condo doesn't really have the authority to request medical documents to substantiate their claims. But a blanket prohibition from using the common elements probably wouldn't be the best route to go.
Well, frankly, it doesn't sound like much of a deterrent to say if you keep on doing this, maybe you'll get a lawyer's letter.
So it actually has been a deterrent in some circumstances because you have then an individual getting a lawyer's letter and having a $500 cost associated that they have to pay off. So just that financial burden that an owner or resident potentially can get is a deterrent in some circumstances.
Do you have any idea where the problem is? Is it younger people? Is it in certain part of town? Is there anything that you can say about the source of the problem?
So I don't have any quantitative data about the areas of Toronto or certain demographics that are opposing wearing masks, but it's certainly an issue in a lot of condo corporations. We've sent numerous enforcement letters at this time to various of our clients' owners and residents about this behavior, but whether it's an elderly person or a young person or what part of city, we don't really have any data on that.
Mm-hmm. And do you have any data? A lot of condos are actually rented out. Would it be more of a problem with people who are living in the units they own or people who are renting units owned by others?
I don't think there'd be very much a difference between an owner or a renter. It just happens whether you own the unit, you rent the unit. You have those individuals that are just not willing to comply and won't wear their masks. And
can you foresee if the city kind of beefed up the law, would they have more recourse?
I would say so. If there was a better way of enforcing it through the city and calling 311 and actually getting bylaw officers to come and issue fines, I think that would be helpful. I know that the city council is supposed to meet to develop some sort of strategy for enforcement in multi-residential buildings. So hopefully they come up with some kind of guideline for condos to enforce against persons not wearing masks or themselves go in and enforce on the property.
Are owners of condos in favor of that? I would think that would be something they would not want.
Well, you have the owners who are concerned about individuals not wearing masks in the common elements. So those owners, I would foresee being in favor of this kind of thing, whereas obviously the residents who refuse to wear masks probably be not happy with this sort of strategy.
Would the owners at all be liable? I mean, if there's a problem at a certain building and if somebody gets sick, I mean, is there any situation under which they could sue?
So from the condo corporation's perspective, if an owner continues to not wear their mask and we sent letters out from legal and whatnot, then the corporation could potentially go to court under Section 117 of the Condo Act and get an order prohibiting them from using the common elements if they do not wear their mask. That is an option for condos to explore. But when it comes to the condo being liable for any individuals who aren't wearing masks, we're not quite sure what would happen there. But as the occupier of the common elements, the condo, if they're not taking proactive steps to ensure owners and residents are wearing masks, they could potentially see some sort of fine.
Mm-hmm. But has there been anything like that?
There have been a case about renovations in condo corporations where a condo enacted a policy to prohibit renovating units during COVID, and the condo was successful in that case. When it comes to masks at this point, I don't believe there's any case law to that effect.
Okay, so what would you like to leave us with on this?
Well, first and foremost, residents should comply with not only the City of Toronto masking bylaw, but also with their own corporations' masking policies. And any residents who see others not wearing masks in the common elements should immediately notify property management so they could try to take these enforcement steps against these residents and individuals in the common elements, and hopefully the enforcement steps eventually pay off and these individuals begin complying. But the first step for all residents who are concerned about this sort of behavior, contact property management.
Do you think there's any use to contacting 311?
I mean, it doesn't hurt, but in a condo setting, I think your best bet would go through contacting management first.
Okay, Natasha Polis, lawyer at Lash Condo Law. Thank you so much for being with us.
Great. Thanks for having me.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.